Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown. We get to talk about Indiana Jones tonight. All of them.
We're talking the whole franchise. Yes, indeed. Indiana Jones, Henry Jones Jr. He doesn't like to be called that, but it's his name, so... it's our fourth bonus episode, so that's pretty cool. It's been a while since we've sat down and recorded one of these things, and it's the first bonus episode that we're doing, just the two of us, just the classic duo, the classic Colton and Andrew dynamic.
Going back to the roots.
Exactly. Well, hopefully, this will be the shortest of any of the bonus episodes we've produced so far. They have gone off the rails pretty much every time we've done them. So we'll see how things turn out with this one here. So this is a bonus episode. So for those of you who are already patrons, through Patreon, of course, we thank you for your support, and we hope that you enjoy the access to this episode here. And at some point later, we will be putting this out on the regular feed. So if you're listening to this episode sometime down the line, when it is part of our regular audio feed, it's not too late for you to become a patron as well. Just head to watchreviewrepeat.com, click the premium tab, and then just follow some simple instructions. Click that Become a Patron button, and you'll be well on your way to getting access to these bonus episodes, to early access to all of our regular episodes, and... our undying love and support. I think that comes with that, right?
Absolutely.
So, Indiana Jones, let's get right into it.
Right into it.
We're going right into it. Well, before we actually get super right into it, I wanted to briefly talk about the origins of the Indiana Jones franchise. So, as you're probably aware, some of our listeners may not be aware, I mean, George Lucas is kind of pretty much the main inspiration for the Indiana Jones franchise coming into existence. So 1973, George Lucas writes this, I don't know if it's a script or some sort of story, basically called The Adventures of Indiana Smith. Not Jones, Indiana Smith. Basically, his whole goal with this was let's do a modern version of the movie serials from the 1930s and 40s. And so he kind of has this, he's working on this. And this is actually before Star Wars, mind you. And then Star Wars comes out, and obviously that kind of takes over the planet. It's just big, massive thing, of course, and he goes to Maui, trying to get out of the shadow of Star Wars for just a brief moment in time, and he's there with friend and colleague Steven Spielberg, who's on vacation himself after working on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and so they have this conversation, and basically, Lucas kind of pitches him Raiders of the Lost Ark, or what would become Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Spielberg just immediately is just like, fuck yes. Let's do this. I think that's exactly what he said. He said, fuck yes, let's do this. And so they did it indeed. So that leads us into the first film in the Indiana Jones franchise, and that is called Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think it was later retitled to Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's the same movie either way. It sprung into theaters June 12th, 1981. It was written by Lawrence Kasdan, who we very recently talked about as one of the writers on Solo: A Star Wars Story. The story was crafted by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman, and it was, of course, directed by Steven Spielberg. Stars Harrison Ford as the titular character, Indiana Jones, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, Ronald Lacey, John Rhys Davies, and Denholm Elliott. And I guess, I'm going to put the synopsis here on the record. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen any of these movies, you do yourself a favor. Well, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but at least do yourself a favor and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then maybe, proceed from there, depending on kind of your reaction to that. It's a bit of an up and down franchise, and we'll get into it. But my point is, this is going to be full spoilers, and look, these movies are 40 years old now? I mean, come on now. So
I don't think you need a spoiler tag.
I'm pretty sure the embargo has been lifted on these things. So, but, just in case. So Raiders of the Lost Ark takes place in 1936 archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before Adolf Hitler's Nazis can obtain its awesome powers.
Bum, bum, bum.
I thought you were going to come in with the Indiana Jones theme.
There
it is.
That's probably would have been better, huh?
That's okay. So Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, look, this is a franchise that has 4 movies in it. Obviously, it's a pretty beloved franchise, and I think that Raiders of the Lost Ark is proof positive of why it's such a beloved franchise. I mean, this is a great fucking film, isn't it?
Oh, it's so cool too. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a fucking cool movie. Indiana Jones is a badass, you know. He's smooth with the ladies, you know, and he's got a ball and whip, and they're going after the Ark of the Covenant, you know. It's and that's one really cool thing that I really like about the Indiana Jones franchise is how they kind of dive into historical I don't know what's the word for it, artifacts.
Artifacts, yep.
And you know, manipulate them in such a way to make them these ridiculously awesome things. Which I think the Ark of the Covenant, you know, if you read the Bible or what have you, I think it's supposed to be a ridiculously powerful thing. But they did a good job of conveying that in this one. I mean, it melts faces, which was pretty crazy. But it's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. After I watched this one, I ended up buying the Blu-ray set is what I bought for like $40, and you get all 4 movies. And I'm a really big fan of Indiana Jones, but when I threw this one in, it relit that spark, and I for the most part I grinded them out. There's like you said, it's an up and down franchise, so I got pumped up with this one, and then my my spirits were deflated a little bit when we hit the second one. But yeah, man, it's a great movie, and that theme song, so so iconic. It's really good.
So full credit, obviously, to John Williams for his work here. Which, I mean, John Williams, man, that man is just an absolute legend. So many themes that he is composed and synonymous. I mean, with Indiana Jones, Star Wars, obviously, there's probably 20 themes you could probably pull out of your ass that people would recognize as, oh, that's from Star Wars. Like,
yeah,
what an absolute legend. I mean, I don't think we can say anything more about John Williams other than every time, like, you know, regardless of the quality of the Indiana Jones movie, John Williams just absolutely crushes it.
Yeah, he comes through every time.
Like, you know, that is the one thing you can absolutely count on. Actually, I tell you what, there's 2 things you can absolutely count on. You can count on John Williams crushing it with the score, and you can count on Harrison Ford just owning the shit out of the role of Indiana Jones. Because, again, regardless of the quality of the movie, like, Harrison Ford is so great as Indy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to see Indiana Jones and when he plays someone else. You know what I mean? It's just that I like when I think of Indiana Jones, or when I think of I did it again. When I think of Harrison Ford, I think he might just be playing himself in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Well, I mean, basically, you know, Han Solo is basically just, well, I mean, I guess we should probably look at this in terms of release order. I mean, Indiana Jones is basically just Han Solo, you know, in a different environment, and like in the 1930s, basically. Yeah, you know, Harrison Ford plays him very similarly, but it works so well. Yeah. Like he's so good at it that, like, you can't help but, I mean, why would you blame him for pulling, or for kind of just doing the same kind of performance? I mean, he's great. He's great at it. He's cool. I think you used the word cool when we were talking before, and like he's such a fucking cool dude. Like he's a cool customer. All right.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool movie, man. I like the whole Nazi thing too. You
like Nazis? Is that what you said?
No, I'm not saying I like Nazis. I like watching Harrison Ford beat up Nazis.
Yeah, beating up Nazis fun. Is great.
And I like how they kind of portray the Nazis as. They kind of portray him as, like, there's that one dude in this movie. Dude's fucking ugly. You know what I'm talking about? The dude who burns his hand?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That poor fella. I know why he's angry at the world. but but they dress up these Nazis in a way to where they're a lot of them are mindless goons, and that's always fun. But I don't know. I enjoy the way they structured the film. I enjoy obviously the composition, the score, and everything else. The acting was great. It's top. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a top-notch film, man. Wasn't the first one I watched though. Wasn't my introduction to Indiana Jones as a kid.
Okay, really?
Was that the first? Was that the first one you watched?
I would say it probably is, but I honestly think that when I was a kid, these were kind of just noise for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was never big on Indiana Jones as a kid. Like I think I was in the room when my siblings would watch them, or probably my brothers if I had to guess. But it was just something that never really grabbed me, and it's something that I think I knew that I would like, and then I kind of ended up revisiting them however many years kind of down the line when I was a little bit older and can, respect it a little bit more. Maybe even time the Crystal Skull came around, that might have been the first time that I really kind of properly dipped my toes into the franchise. And so I don't have some sort of, real nostalgic connection to any of these movies. I know that some people do, and we'll definitely talk about that when it comes to one of these movies that comes after this. But I think this movie just completely stands up on its own. And I think that to this day it stands up on its own. Obviously it's got things that haven't aged well here and there, but overall, I mean, like, it's such a straightforward, just fun movie. And it's interesting that we are covering the Indiana Jones franchise pretty much right on the heels of watching Solo: A Star Wars Story, which I feel was very much a throwback to a movie of this nature. And I was a big fan of Solo because it was just a very straightforward adventure, and I find that that's what pretty much all these movies are, is just a fun, pulpy adventure. I mean, Lucas was trying to create an homage to these serials from the 30s and 40s. I think that's what they were, and I think it works so well here. They're just fun, man.
Yeah, it's like it's the same reason the Goonies still works. Mm-hmm. You watch the Goonies, and the Goonies will always work. I don't think there's going to be a time where it doesn't. And maybe that's foolish of me to say, but I think that, I don't know, there's like this I don't know. There's a want to go on an adventure, man. That's what makes it so cool. It's something that never happened. You don't go on do you go on any fucking adventures? You don't go on adventures. Not like Indiana Jones.
Not like Indiana Jones. That is for certain. Man.
But it would be cool to go on an adventure like Indiana Jones.
I think that I would probably die very shortly into an Indiana Jones-esque adventure. He definitely works his way out of some precarious situations in ways that I probably would not be able to pull off.
We wouldn't make it very far we just wouldn't be able to find our way to the adventures.
I do live vicariously through say a Nathan Drake type adventure, which is just a video game version of Indiana Jones, except he murders like a million more people than Indiana Jones. I mean, Indiana Jones murders a few people in his day, to be fair, but
he does throw a guy in a propeller in the film,
I think he murders someone in each one. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's not the best guy. But,
he shoots the dude with the sword.
Yes, he does do that.
He's kind of a dick, actually. Indiana Jones is kind of a dick.
But a little bit. But, I think the thing that makes us root for Indiana Jones, obviously aside from just Harrison Ford's undeniable charisma, is he's not in it for himself. We see him kind of as the professor. And, it belongs in a museum. That's pretty much the running theme for him is, he's such a big fan of kind of the artifacts that he's trying to discover, whereas the Nazis in this are trying to take it so they can take over the world or whatever the fuck they're trying to do with it. Indy's just like, that's some cool shit. I would like to put that on display and, I'm just in awe that this thing exists. I want to be a part of this adventure and kind of see what it does and see what it is, but I'm not here to take advantage of what kind of gifts it offers.
Too, I think a lot of what makes Indy tick, and I think we find a lot of it in the Last Crusade, is the adventure leading to finding finding the artifact is like the trophy at the end of the race. To where everyone else wants to find it to exploit it, Indy wants to finding it is what makes Indy tick. So I don't know. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't know. You must be living under a rock. I hope you go see it, because or watch it somehow. I think you can stream them on Amazon.
I think they are on Amazon. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I've owned the Blu-ray set for quite some time now, and yeah, I think you can get it for pretty cheap. So I think it's worth going on that if you have any sort of reverence for this franchise and you didn't already own that. But yeah, maybe give it a whirl on Amazon, and if it hooks you, then plop some more money down and get the Blu-ray set.
So recommendation on Raiders of the Lost Ark? Watch it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I guess we don't have a strict recommendation kind of rating scale set up for this. But yeah, definitely Raiders of the Lost Ark. Any way you can, check it out. And we say, I think it's going to be a running theme. We talked about Indy as kind of a ladies' man. I like Marion Ravenwood in this a lot. I think she's a great kind of female character in this as sort of a companion to Mr. Indiana Jones.
She's almost like a female version of Indy in a way, She's a badass. She's cool.
Yeah, she's cool. She definitely seems very kind of strong-willed in her own right, and she's not the damsel in distress or anything like that. I guess there are times in the movie where I guess she does get kidnapped and such, but she's a fun character. I enjoy her presence. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but the next movie, oh boy, is it a reversal. So yes, recommendation, absolutely. Again, see it any way you can. I think we can keep the favorite moments thing we did from the Marvel episodes around for this. Yeah. So do you have anything immediately that jumps to mind? I have one if I'm putting you on the spot.
Raiders of the I like when they there's a couple of moments on this that I really like. I don't want to get too rambly, but there's comedic things that are cool, like I like when he catches the date. There's like cinematographic moments. I thought that was kind of cool. It's simple, but like I said, I think it's cool. But I really like when they're digging into the chamber and the clouds start forming and they have like everybody's like a silhouette and Indy's just pacing back and forth as the people dig. I thought that was fucking cool. But yeah, that's what I got. Those are my two favorite moments.
All right.
They're simple moments, but they're, I don't know, if I close my eyes and I think of that damn monkey, and I think of that like I said, that scene where they're digging into that chamber, and it just, I don't know, I think it looks cool. What are your favorite moments, man?
I don't know if I have a moments plural, but the one that I wrote down as my favorite moment is, I really like the whole sequence in Cairo.
Cairo is fucking cool.
Like, it's just a really, really fun kind of set piece. A lot of just the beats in that are really just well choreographed and really fun. But my favorite moment, and I think it's possibly like the most quintessential Indy moment, is actually something you already talked about. It's when the swordsman comes out, he starts swinging it around like a madman, and he's like, fuck this, just pulls out, the gun and just shoots him. That's an incredible moment. Like, that is pure Indiana Jones right there. And apparently that wasn't even scripted. I don't know if you are aware of any sort of backstory of that. Well, I think Harrison Ford was very ill the day that they were shooting that, and it was supposed to be some sort of elaborate kind of choreographed stunt or some sort of thing like that. And basically, like, he just wasn't up to the task, and they're like, well, why don't we just do it this way? It's just a very simple kind of, he just brushes him off and just shoots him and just walks away. So it's kind of a happy accident that it kind of, worked out that way. But I feel like that's kind of reflective of a lot of cinema, is that things are just happy accidents that just, and then, they become immortalized throughout time. And I think that's one of those moments that, like, that is Raiders of the Lost Ark, in a nutshell, in a way. So that's what I got. You ready to move on to the second entry into the Indiana Jones franchise?
This is my first entry in.
This is your this is your entry point.
This is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Came out a little less than 3 years later, May 23rd, 1984. Screenplay by Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz. Story by George Lucas. Directed... what a surprise. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. It stars Harrison Ford, Kate Capshaw, Amrish Puri, Roshan Seth, Philip Stone, and Jonathan Ke Quan. This one...
It's Shorty.
Short round. This one is a prequel, actually. It takes place in 1935. Indiana Jones arrives in India, which is still part of the British Empire, and is asked to find a mystical stone. He then stumbles upon a secret cult committing enslavement and human sacrifices in the catacombs of an ancient palace. Boy, that oversells it, doesn't it?
Like I said, I watched this. I remember watching this movie over at my grandfather's house. I was really young because we used to drive. We used to go up to West Virginia every year on a family vacation, and God, I must have been 7 or 8 years old, something like that, maybe. And this was my entry point, and I was enamored by it, man. I thought it was totally awesome. Especially when the dude rips his heart out, and then it catches fire. I mean, like I said, I always loved this movie. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I took a little revisit. Oh, this movie's trash. It's really bad.
Oh man, this movie is just
terrible
crap.
Woman. Yeah, it's bad. They have this terrible woman stereotype. She's just obnoxious throughout the whole movie. It was awful. I actually probably think, I mean, don't get me wrong, this movie, Indy's a badass in this one too. So that character remains the same. Indy's fine.
Yeah, he is a fixed point. It's everything around him that is just like, oh my god, what the fuck happened between 1981 and 1984?
It's terrible. I know you talked about, I think in the Isle of Dog episode, about White Savior.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And up until I still had, I didn't quite understand. I couldn't find a point to say, yeah, this is an example of that. You know what I mean? I guess it's slightly apparent in Isle of Dogs, but this is a really strong example of that. And now I completely understand what that means. Wholeheartedly. There was the scene where they after they fall from an airplane in an inflatable boat, and they land in the river, and they wash up on shore, and they walk into the village, and all the Indian people are worshiping Indian, the obnoxious lady, and not so much Shortstop, but and it was, oh, this is really bad. That was really bad, man. But I think Shorty sells it. If I had to pick a favorite, I would probably say Shorty sells it. He's hilarious throughout the whole movie. I thought he's pretty great.
You cheat, Dr. Jones. You cheat.
Oh, don't be a potatoes.
That takes place like 5 to 10 minutes into the movie. You just hold on to your potatoes. I'm like, oh no.
Okay, you asked for it. Rams that guy running these people down the street.
Yeah.
And he backs up against the wall with the spikes, lowers the spikes down. You told me, Mr. Jones, you told me to get up against the wall. I get up against the wall. This is your fault. I love it. I thought he's a great character. Awesome. I wish he was in every indie movie.
I have many problems with this movie. This movie.
I rambled.
Well, the white savior thing you talked about, that's a big one. I mean, just the whole depiction here of India is I can't imagine that it was okay at the time either. I mean, it is one of those things that, years on, there's things where you look back and you're like, wow, I can't believe they got away with that, or they did that, or something like that. And this one's just like, especially the whole scene where they're eating all the weird shit, and it's just like, yeah, that's not actually a thing. I don't know, the whole I found a lot of this just totally bizarre. And even beyond that, I mean, this is just pure crap. This movie is just garbage. I mean, like, I think that the first half, if I had to, speak generously about anything, I think that the first half is significantly worse than the second half. I think kind of once it gets past a lot of that, once it kind of just basically ends up with Andy and Willie and Short Round kind of in the catacombs, it's a little bit better. I mean, it has that whole bit with Molaram and the he rips the heart out of the guy. Like, there's moments in this, and I'm like, I mean, this is kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's like, who is this for? Because the first 20 minutes is just like total slapstick goofball shit. Like, the tone is just very light, and then it just switches on a dime with really no warning or anything, and then it's just like, yeah, we're fucking ripping hearts out of people's chests, motherfucker, setting them on fire.
Deal with it.
Like, what is happening in this fucking movie? It's just so all over the place. I just don't understand kind of what the intent was with this, and it feels very weird, especially in the greater context of all the other Indiana Jones movies. Like, just the disparate elements just seem really out of place. Like, Short Round is in here and then never mentioned again in the other sequels. Willie is got to be the worst character in the whole franchise. She's terrible. Written so poorly. Like, she's just there to scream, and like, like bugs crawl over, she screams some more. Like, I can't. Again, that's one of those things. Maybe that's just a product of its time, and maybe people found like a character like this funny. But holy shit, it did not age well if that was the case. I mean, totally baffling. Totally baffling.
I don't think that's I don't think it could be, because I mean, 3 years prior to that, you had Ravenwood, and she was funny, and
maybe
awesome.
she was maybe she was a character that maybe broke the mold. And then let's just go back to kind of something that's a little bit more familiar for audiences, and then they'll kind of eat it up or something. I could be completely mistaken. I wasn't alive in 1984, for the record.
Neither was I. Yeah,
so I can't, speak, as far as kind of what the intent was here. But I just find this, again, I don't find the existence of this movie baffling. I just find the execution of this movie just utterly baffling in really every sort of way. But Harrison Ford's pretty good in it, so there is that. You sent me a Snapchat of the nocturnal activities scene where he's
that's smooth operator, man.
Like a scene like that, I'm like, oh, like, it's not very good in its own right, but it was pretty fucking entertaining at the same time.
I tell you what, did you have a problem with the Donkey Kong sequence?
Oh, the minecart sequence?
Yes. Did you pull Donkey Kong out of that? It's all I could see was Donkey Kong.
I was so kind of checked out of this movie by that point where I'm just like, I don't give a fuck what happens anymore. Like, just please let the credits roll. I'm fucking done.
It's rough.
Well, actually, to kind of pull on something that you talked about. It's interesting that you watched this when you were a kid, and it sounds like you had some like a reverence for this movie. Like, if you had not rewatched this movie, you probably would have been like, oh, I remember loving that movie. Like, you wouldn't be able to speak on its quality, but you wouldn't have had like a negative association with it. Whereas I feel like now you watch and you're like, holy fuck, what is this?
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of people that even to this day will swear by this movie, and that's what I find just completely insane, is that, like, they just have these crazy nostalgia goggles on, and they cannot. Opinions are what they are. They're just that. They are opinions, but
there's wrong ones though.
I said, I just there's no version, there's no reading of this movie where like this is good. Like, I guess like there's elements in it that are Indiana Jones is good. His interactions with Short Round are fun. I guess maybe if you really liked the whole, sacrifice subplot or something, I don't know.
And
I don't know.
That's another thing. That's where it's another huge departure from the series. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's hunting rocks, but they are very much not the point of this movie. The artifacts are no longer the point, where the artifacts are the point in literally every other movie in the franchise.
Right.
It centers around the cult, which is fine. The cult's, worshiping some ancient deity and they're doing bad shit, which I guess is okay. But in many ways, this is a huge departure from almost. Well, I mean, it's just a departure from the other films in the series. And as since I've been introduced to other Indiana Jones movies, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I prefer the other I prefer the other templates.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because again, I just think this movie is so tonally all over the place. Apparently this is one of the movies that kind of broke the rating system at the time. This was pre PG-13. So this Temple of Doom is still rated PG.
No.
Which is completely baffling. I mean, think of what's the last movie you can think of that was rated PG? Just straight up PG.
I don't know. Frozen, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. Like, yeah, probably a Disney animated movie. Like the only things that get PG these days are like super family friendly movies. And 1984, this thing gets slapped at the PG. How do you think families walk in after? I mean, Raiders has its moments where it's certainly very adult, but I think that it's, again, it never, like, this is some fucked up shit going on. There's fucking slaves, kid slaves, magic, human sacrifice. Like, what is going on in this? I'm just like, and especially, when it's juxtaposed with that first, 20 minutes where it's just pure slapstick, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know.
Crazy.
I feel like I'm going to just ramble on about this movie forever. So I will offer up a fun fact in your stead for this week, since you're, it's a bonus episode, so I wasn't expecting anything out of you.
Oh, okay. All right. What do you got?
Kate Capshaw, the actress that plays Willie Scott, later married Steven Spielberg.
Oh.
And they are currently still married with, I think, 4 or 5 children, something like that. So this movie was good for something. It made Steven Spielberg's personal life that much better.
I don't know why Steven Spielberg would marry her after this movie. It's so bad. She's terrible in this movie. I mean, I'm not. She was most probably definitely written that way, but
yeah.
It's just terrible. But anyways.
So, so you would recommend this movie to everyone? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. No.
Would you recommend it for anyone?
No. No. But see, something had to happen. There has to be something in this movie that makes it cool for kids. There has to be, right?
I think it's just because it's so fucking hardcore. Like,
is
it's
that
like
what it is?
Yeah,
your parents will let you go watch it because it's PG. You get in there and they're ripping hearts out and human sacrifices and kid slaves. And...
I think there's just some crazy shit in here, and you're like the parents aren't expecting that walking in, and the kids get exposed in that. Like I've never seen anything like this before. Probably for good reason, but I think that's what it is. It's weird. I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, you said you had an experience with this as a kid, and I mean, I kind of vaguely remember. I definitely, as a kid, kind of remember the heart-pulling sequences. Like, oh, holy fuck, what was that?
Yeah.
So I kind of remember that, but outside of that, that's probably the only thing that stuck with me, and that's just because it was just like such a whoa.
It's a cool scene. Don't get me wrong, it's cool. It's if you take the whole movie out of context and just take that one excerpt, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah. So my recommendation is, if you already are one of those weird people that like this movie and will defend it to your dying day, then I recommend this movie to you and to no one else. So at least it has its own little subsect of the world that likes it. And,
I'd be interested to
that's
hear someone's argument for this movie. Like, I want to hear why this is a good movie. If people feel that way, I would be interested to see listen to their opinion or read their opinion.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I guess it's okay to like bad things too. I mean, you could acknowledge yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's just one of those things that I just really liked as a kid, and I still like it to this day. And in spite of its badness, I still enjoy aspects of it. I feel like that's fine.
That's fine.
I'm not saying that's what obviously where either of us stand on it, but I can get that. Anyone that legitimately argues this is the best Indiana Jones movie, Yeah, I would. Yeah, please write in watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. I don't know what the fuck you're smoking. I'm not sure that I want any of it, but I'm definitely very curious to hear your opinion. So,
yeah, it's rough.
Favorite moment of Temple of Doom, and I'm gonna set some ground rules from this point on. It cannot be when the credits start. So you have to absolutely pick a moment within the movie. Favorite moment for this? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, favorite moments easily when they sneak through the catacombs and they're sitting there on that thing and they watch that guy get his heart ripped out. It's pretty
okay, all right.
Pretty freaking crazy.
That's fair. My favorite moment is I think it's when the Indy and Short Round kind of go through. I think they're in the rooms and they find like the secret entrance to the catacombs and they're kind of wandering down. And then they get stuck in the room where it's kind of collapsing on them.
Yeah.
And you see Indy's face just pop up through the little hole. We are going to die! Sad face.
It does. It's a long thing. He has an exaggerated frown.
It's incredible. I'd seen the GIF so many times, I actually kind of had forgotten it was from this movie until I got to that scene. I'm like, holy fuck, I remember why that GIF is so incredible. So that was one of the few moments in this that just legitimately made me laugh out loud for the right reasons. So that gets my nod.
And to be fair, okay, I know I just wrapped up pretty hard on Temple of Doom because it's not a good movie. But there are plenty of times I laughed in this movie. Plenty of times. It's a funny movie.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I think the Indian Short Round interactions are fun, but it's I don't know.
It's rough.
I just think it's just too all over the place in terms of kind of tonally what it's trying to achieve. That it just feels weird. It's just a weird movie, man. Also a bad one. It's also a bad movie.
What about this next one?
This next one. By which you mean Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Is that the movie that you were referring to?
That's what I'm talking about, dude.
Well, I have some good things to say about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but I do want to set up what this movie is, who's
Tell
in
us
it,
about it,
who directed it, all that good stuff before we get into the good details on this. May 24th, 1989 was its release date, 5 years after Temple of Doom came out. Screenplay by Jeffrey Boehm, story by George Lucas and Menno Meyjes, directed by Steven Spielberg directed this one too. Interesting. Harrison Ford is in this one. Denholm Elliott, Alison Doody, John Rhys Davies, Julian Glover, River Phoenix, and Sean Connery.
Yeah.
This one is a proper sequel to Raiders. In 1938, when his father, Professor Henry Jones Sr., goes missing while pursuing the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones finds himself up against Adolf Hitler's Nazis again to stop them from obtaining its powers. Last Crusade is fucking excellent.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to hop... never mind. It is fucking excellent. Yes, it's a very good movie.
You're going to jump to a recommendation. It's good. Yeah. We're going to go to Crystal Skull because we've got many things to say about it. No. Last Crusade, this is just the perfect mix of like everything that I think even maybe what Temple of Doom was trying to go for. Like the mix of here's some, kind of silly slapstick-ish kind of moments, and then here's some more serious kind of adventure type set pieces. But I think that it works because the set pieces feel much more in line with the everything else, and they're just all kind of really executed to perfection without really kind of, they do strain credulity here and there, but not in the way, like the fucking Temple of Doom, the whole water raft out of the plane thing is like, oh my God, kill me now. Like Last Crusade has bits that are just pretty over the top, but never quite just completely, unrealistic in every, way of the word. Like Last Crusade it's such a great balance of humor, action, it's got everything in it, man. It's got everything.
Yeah, it's a wonderful movie. The humor's earned. It's written in the humor, it doesn't go out. I don't think that it, in most cases anyways, and I can't think of any ways that it goes out of its way to be humorous. You know what I'm saying? Things happen and Indy's witty, or what have you. I think it's I don't know. Indy plays a really good Indy in this movie.
Yeah, it's just a naturally funny movie. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And I mean, I think certainly a lot of the humor I think is derived from his interactions with really everyone in the movie. I mean, certainly Sean Connery as his father. There's some great interactions there. We get an increased role with Marcus Brody, kind of his colleague. You know, he's got like 2 scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here he's kind of a bumbling idiot. So it seemed like they dumbed down his character maybe a little bit, but it's funny. You know, they work together. There's a nice dynamic there, and the characters in this one in general, I think, are just like, even when he's interacting with like the bad guys, when he's interacting with the Nazis, like
he has Hitler sign his book.
yeah, like that's a fucking awesome fucking Indiana Jones moment. Like it's incredible. Like that moment works at all. Like again, that's something that is just it's just on the line of being too much, but it still works in the greater context of the movie. Like it's just awesome. And I liked Elsa Schneider. I thought she was a nice femme fatale kind of.
Dude, she's definitely very cool. Very cool character.
Extremely cool. A nice change of pace, certainly from especially coming off of Temple of Doom. But like, it was nice to have a female character that
did stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. She's just. I mean, like Marion's cool. I like Marion, but it's interesting to have kind of a villainess, I guess. Here was kind of a nice wrinkle I enjoyed, and one that kind of, begins on one side and kind of tricks Indy, and I don't know. But then there's still shades of kind of her being, I don't know. She's like 90% Nazi. Like there's 10% of her. It's just like, Indy's a pretty cool dude. I maybe I can make this work, but they never quite make it work. But
how did you know she was German? She talks in her sleep.
She talks in her sleep.
That's it. She talks. Yeah.
The facial acting in that scene is fucking amazing.
He's got that little smirk on his face.
God, Sean Connery just has this little shit-eating grin. Oh my God, it's incredible. Oh man.
That's awesome.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page just for reference on this. Apparently, Sean Connery improvised that line. Wow. I mean, I guess that makes. Actually, I mean, honestly, that explains a lot, because that whole interaction there is so genuine that, like, shit, that makes so much sense that that's probably just Harrison Ford just rolling with it and like, this motherfucker. Oh man, that is amazing. That is fucking awesome. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're getting a little off track there. I'm guilty of it this time.
No, it's probably it's probably one of the best parts of the movie. I love it.
But I think that's kind of indicative of kind of the humor here. But no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Cut you off. But the set pieces in this one were spectacular too.
Yeah,
very.
So much fun.
Just grand set pieces. You got that. What they're called? What, zeniths? They're called zeniths. What are they called? Zephyrs.
Oh shit! The
airships.
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin. That's it. Yeah, you got the Zeppelin, and then you got there's just all sorts of cool shit, all sorts of cool stuff, man. You got the big ship where they throw the cigarette butt into the thing, and Indy throws it back. It's good stuff. I like it all.
You were just talking about. You said we were talking about the Zeppelin, trying to think of the word, and then as soon as I came up with the word, I just immediately was no ticket.
Yeah, exactly. It's good, and everybody pulls out their tickets.
What? I'm laughing about it just thinking about this movie. It's a fucking what a super fun movie, man. Like I was. From the beginning too, we start with little young Indiana Jones, and I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this, So I feel like it's kind of shaky territory when you start doing young versions of characters, and Solo was kind of the same deal, where it's like, oh, do we need this? And I certainly ended up enjoying it a lot, while acknowledging that, okay, I didn't need it. But this one was kind of the same thing, where we see young Indiana Jones, and it's just like, it actually. Like that first 10-15 minutes that we see at the beginning actually very much felt like Solo kind of,
Yeah.
in the sense that it was just like, hey, here's like the quick and dirty of how Indiana Jones kind of came to be, and the sense of like down to the fact that he gets the chart, the chin scar, within the sequence itself. It was like, all right, whatever, that's fine. But he sees the guy that is basically wearing the same shit that he ends up wearing as an adult. There's a lot of stuff in it that's really fun, and I feel like on paper that could have been precarious territory to kind of have this whole prologue sequence with the young Indiana Jones, but I thought it worked really well. And I liked River Phoenix plays young Indiana Jones, and he was really fucking great here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he ended up passing away, I think a few years after that.
Did he really?
Yeah. He's the, I think, well, the Phoenix family, there's a big Phoenix family, so he's the older brother of Joaquin Phoenix, probably the most well-known, I think, Phoenix.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, he died when he was in his early 20s, I think, from drugs. So pretty shitty, definitely. But it sucks when you get same thing with Brandon Lee. Obviously, it wasn't drug related. That was pretty horrific accident on the Crow. But it's just like, damn, man. Like, you see these talented actors and they die in early 20s. Even Heath Ledger, I think, was pretty young too. And it's just like, fucking hell, man. Makes you sad. Anton Yelchin, that was a freak accident too.
Oh, that one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going on a little tangent here myself, but yeah, I don't know. It sucks to just think about these things. Like, it's crazy to think James Dean going even further back. Like, so many movies that these guys could have been in, and kind of be robbed of those opportunities. It's real sad to think about. Last Crusade is not real sad to think about. It's a hard segue, but I'm sticking with it. I think I've said it like 700 times throughout this episode, but it's just such a fun fucking movie. Like I think what I was starting to say when I got on my tangent talking about the prologue is like I really enjoyed that whole sequence. Like, I feel like it sets the stage in such a great way. Whereas Temple of Doom, like, from the first 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is going to be insufferable. Like, this one was like, fuck yeah, I'm in for this ride. And like, the whole movie is just a fucking great ride. It's a thrill ride the whole way through. And everything is there. And, everything that you could possibly want is in this movie. And I enjoyed that. I think you kind of talked about Temple kind of felt like a diversion in the sense that it was, human sacrifices, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just goes for religious artifacts or historical artifacts or something like that. And this one is very much more in the vein of Raiders of the Lost Ark, probably deliberately, because I think Temple was kind of just like, okay, we did that. Let's maybe go back and pull it closer to what we did before. So, Nazis again, religious artifact and the Holy Grail. But it's still fresh. It doesn't feel samey, I wouldn't say. I think there's a lot here to like that is different enough than Raiders. And I mean, to me, it feels like a refinement of the quote unquote formula if you wanted to kind of boil it down to such a simple thing. So,
what was your favorite moment in this one?
My favorite moment is something we've already talked about. It was she talks in her sleep. I was crying. Yeah. I was crying from laughing from watching that. I mean, again, just
yeah, no, it's easily my favorite moment.
What an amazing exchange. I mean, No Ticket is classic too. Don't get me wrong, but that was the one. I think it's because it's something for me that I just totally forgot about. Like, it'd been certainly long enough since I'd seen this movie that I couldn't quite remember what Schneider's role was. I couldn't remember all of that, and then I definitely did not remember that little bit there. But yeah,
I like Indy the Irishman too. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, no, that's my we shared the same moment on that one. That was good.
Yeah. I there's another good moment. It's not my favorite one, but it's when they're in they come off the Zeppelin and the biplane, and then he has his dad go in the gun on the back, and he starts shooting around, and then he shoots off the tail. Oh, they got us, son.
Sorry. What a shithead.
That's fucking funny. Oh man. Oh god, I want to watch this movie again right now. You just want to pause and then come back. We'll just watch it again, and then we can have a little bit more in depth discussion. Hey, you know what? Let's just do a separate episode on this. What do you think?
Solely just the Last Crusade.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But I am kind of tempted to watch it again. I won't. Not I mean, I just watched it, but it's great. It's really good fun, and I like the one thing that I did remember kind of going in, as I always remembered the Grail sequence at the end. For some reason the old knight always stuck in my head. Like, yes. I could always kind of picture him, and the whole idea of, yes, he chose poorly. Yeah, like I always remembered that, and just the whole kind of setup of the grails where they had to kind of pick one out of 1,000 that were sitting there, probably like 100, I guess, that were sitting there. I always remembered that. So maybe this is the one that, I don't know, like I remember the heart thing from Temple of Doom, and then this, I just really remember that. So I wonder if this is something that maybe I was kind of at the right age when my brothers were watching it, that was kind of the thing that I pulled out of it. Maybe.
You're blessed because you pulled out a better movie than I did.
Yeah. Well, so maybe my brothers are 5 and 7 years older, so they were probably old enough to recognize, hey, this one's real shit, and we can just watch this one because this one's great instead. Maybe that's what it is. I'll have to confer with them and see if that was actually the case. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. I don't know if this one's on Amazon. I mean, I would assume that they probably have the whole franchise on. Yeah, I would think so. It would be kind of weird to split them. The only one that might be weird, I would think, maybe is the Crystal Skull, just because it came out so many years later. But yeah, if this one's on Amazon, I mean, any way you can see this movie, I would highly recommend you do it. And I think you could see it without seeing.
You can watch it on Prime, by the way.
Okay, very good. But I would say I think you could watch this movie without having any sort of previous exposure to Indiana Jones, outside of maybe just whatever cultural references you kind of just have picked up on by living your life. But I think it's standalone, especially with that beginning. I mean, it pretty much sets you up. I mean, obviously you miss out on kind of cheeky references to things here and there. I think there's like a drawing of the Ark of the Covenant on the wall, and Elsa's like, "Is that the Ark of the Covenant?" And he's like, "Yeah, pretty sure it is." Like, "Are you sure?" Like, "Yeah, pretty sure." Something like that. I kind of fumbled the exchange, but again, just a moment where that's a subtle, obviously, reference to Raiders, but it's still probably funny even if you don't know what the fuck's going on, just because Harrison Ford is just a suave motherfucker, and like he just delivers his lines like no other. So, yeah. Did you say a recommendation for The Last Crusade?
Oh, absolutely. Buy that movie.
Yes.
You deserve to watch it in an uncompressed format. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. Right. I think it's time to wind this down, get into the, as of now, last entry into the Indiana Jones franchise. It came out 19 years after Last Crusade was released, May 18th, 2008. I remember this one coming out because I was very much alive for it, and very much in high school when it came out. Both of us would have been. Screenplay for this one was done by David Koepp, story by George Lucas and Jeff Nathanson, directed by... hold on. That says Steven Spielberg. That can't be right. He directed this one too? It stars Harrison Ford, Cate Blanchett, Karen Allen, Shia LaBeouf. Fucking Shia LaBeouf. Hell yeah. You know it came out in like the late 2000s if Shia LaBeouf is in your shit. Ray Winston, John Hurt, and Jim Broadbent. So this one naturally has a little bit of a time jump into the 1950s. So in 1957, archaeologist and adventurer Dr. Henry Indiana Jones Jr. is called back into action and becomes entangled in a Soviet plot to uncover the secret behind mysterious artifacts known as the Crystal Skulls.
Aliens.
Ants? Ants. No, aliens. Okay, so... that's the big thing, obviously, is fucking aliens. And it's kind of it's interesting to me that religious artifacts that are obviously kind of like they're balls to the wall, like serious things happening, like you know, they're not just like, oh, these are things that existed in the past that are historical artifacts that were just written about in the Bible. Like, no, these things have like straight up biblical powers, you know, like, so the first one with the Ark of the Covenant, I don't even know what the hell it was supposed to do. All it did, I mean, it melted people's faces for sure. The Holy Grail actually had the healing powers, but it had certain constraints to it. You know, it's interesting that that's okay, and then Aliens is like a step too far in some ways. I find that kind of humorous myself, as someone that's not particularly religious. But I don't
think it's a step too far if it's done properly. This is just an example of not how to do it.
That's what it is. I think that there's a version of the story that could be fun and could work, but this was not the version of that we, you know, that what we got was less than satisfactory, shall we say. And I don't know, man. I feel like I didn't hate this when it came out. I don't know if you felt the same kind of at the time. I mean, I don't remember loving it or anything, but I don't remember like outright hating it. I know this thing is, you know, and you know, in the intervening decade, you know, this thing has just gotten tons of shit. And
I think I've seen it twice. I think I saw it when it came out in theaters.
Okay,
and then I think I watched it now. I don't think I've ever. I don't know. This one, I don't think this one ever settled well with me. Okay. And that's just straight from the beginning when he hops into the refrigerator.
Well, I mean, that's like 20 minutes into the movie, to be fair.
Okay.
I think that everything that takes place before that is totally fine.
No, that's okay. When he hops in the refrigerator, though, that's when
it's when they nuke the fridge that things go sideways and they never recover. Like even bits and pieces are fine, kind of here and there throughout, but that's the moment where you're like,
what?
Yeah, all right, we're done. We're done here. There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move along, folks. Move along.
Yeah, it's rough.
This is not a good movie. This is not a good movie.
No, it's.
I don't know. Like, you know, it's another one where Temple of Doom where I'm like, this is just so all over the place. Like, you know, again, there's things in it that are fine, but it's so weird and so over the top at times. It's just like, what was the intent here? Like, I don't really know what was going on. Like again, like I see what you're saying. Like the aliens thing for me is not a step too far. Like I'm totally cool with it. Like I think the whole idea that Lucas and company went for is like they wanted to go for like the sci-fi B movies of kind of the 1950s, which is totally appropriate. And I think that's totally fair, but just the everything else in it is just kind of just totally whack, man. Like, I don't know. A lot of it is just, you know, if it's the whole fridge sequence is obviously kind of the big one that stuck out at the time and kind of was just like,
but wait,
yeah, we've jumped the shark here, but
you know, let's just say you forgive the refrigerator, or perhaps you think it's cool, or you think it's funny, or whatever. Let's just fast forward the movie to the jungle scene or the Peruvian scene where, or whatever it is, where Shia LaBeouf's swinging with monkeys, or perhaps the giant ants consume this dude and drag him into the ant hive, or when Kate Blanchett squishes the ant and the bug guts fly on the camera. What about that? Did you like
the fourth
that?
Roll, man. You're flipping the genre on its head, man.
There's just so much shit in this movie. It's awful. I cannot I don't think that there's any. I personally don't think there's any redeeming. I can't think of a moment I enjoyed in this movie. I
have. Well, I'm going to say 3 redeeming qualities for this movie.
Do it.
One is that Harrison Ford is. I mean, he's you know, he's better than the other ones.
Yeah, but he plays he plays a good seasoned Indiana Jones.
He's still a good Indy, and there's moments in this where I'm like, oh, that's straight Indiana Jones, and I enjoyed a lot of Harrison Ford in this. You know, I think he gets more to work with than the other movies, obviously.
To share the camera space with Shia LaBeouf in this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, Shia LaBeouf. You know, he's eating the camera time. I think that the second thing that we can still write home about, as is true of all these, as we established very beginning of this episode, is that John Williams still crushes it. The score is not something that you can. I don't think you can really naysay too much. And the third thing for me is that Shia LaBeouf is just incredible in this.
That's great.
No, I'm just kidding. No, the third thing for me is that Cate Blanchett is, she's pretty cool. I always had a thing for Cate Blanchett in this movie. I've always had a thing for Cate Blanchett, to be fair.
You like those straight edges, those straight edge haircuts?
I don't know what it is, but even in 2008 when this shit came out, Cate Blanchett was, I was like, yeah, okay. This is definitely something that's working for me, and to this day, I would agree with my God, how old would I have been? My 15-year-old self. I agree with him. 14, something like that. I actually really like the idea. I mean, it totally makes sense. 1950s, you make the Soviets the enemy. Right. I like that a lot. That's totally natural. That fits. That makes a lot of sense. Can't really do the Nazis anymore. Good thing that, I'll say most of the Nazis weren't around in the 50s. Some of them still were. But,
they're still
they weren't
around now,
in
man.
Germany.
What are you talking about? They're still out there.
Yes, but proper Nazis,
right,
as they were kind of, they're hanging out in South America here and there, and hiding. So, I liked the updating to the 50s. I liked that. I liked, I liked her as a presence, but her character was just kind of weird. The whole psychic thing was kind of like, what? It just seems like they kind of abandoned that, right. As soon as they used it.
Right.
And it's like, why was that there? I mean, obviously, I get that, they're trying to go for a different angle with things, but it just seemed kind of out of place. And, most of this movie just kind of sucks ass, though. But, if we're being honest, a lot of this is just crap. I feel terrible for, John Hurt obviously is not with us anymore, but good Lord, they gave that man nothing to do in this movie other than Henry Jones Jr. That was a punchline too. I'm like, oh my God, just what is, no. And I don't know, just a lot of things in this just felt very half-assed or too far in the wrong direction, like Shia LaBeouf swinging on vines, ropes with monkeys, and what is happening?
What's going on?
And what's interesting to me is that, I get it. It's one of those things this comes out where CGI is obviously much more refined, much more advanced than it was than when any of the previous Indiana Jones movies had come out. Well, so you use CGI, a lot, but damn, there was a crazy over-reliance upon it. There's movies that come out in 2008 that look fine. Iron Man came out in 2008. Dark Knight came out in 2008. Those movies look good. They still hold up to this day in terms of usage of CGI. This one, it's got that prequel kind of thing, the Star Wars prequel kind of thing where
just put it everywhere.
Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it at every fucking instance. You should not start your movie with a fucking CGI gopher or whatever the fuck that thing was. Oh my, prairie dogs? I don't know. Anyway,
the prairie dogs watching the speed racing.
It looked terrible. That's the opening shot. I'm like, don't. It's the same thing that Justice League did. Don't open your movie with a poorly covered up CGI mustache monstrosity. Don't do that. Use your CGI seamlessly, or use it to accentuate your physical sets. Everything in this movie just looks real bad, and I don't remember it looking that bad at the time, but good Lord, does it look bad now. Just a lot of the jungle sequences, really most of this movie is obviously just digital backgrounds shot on green screen, and the whole sword fight when they're on the car looked horrible in the jungle sequence they were talking about.
Yeah.
It just looks real bad. Even the aliens at the end looked real bad too, and it's just why does everything look so bad in this movie?
I think the best looking thing is when they did the conquistadors, when they exposed them to air. I thought that looked kind of cool.
Okay, yeah, well that seemed more like a throwback kind of effect.
Yeah, it was really very subtle.
Yeah,
but everything else was garbage. The whole movie.
Everything
garbage.
else is just
garbage movie. I feel like I didn't pour enough beer in my cup. I kind of feel down that I wasted time watching it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this one was tough for me. I had to pause halfway through and just take like a 10-minute power nap because I'm like, oh my god, I'm really struggling with this right now. And it's I was okay with it, like up until the fridge sequence, and then like that one was like, I knew that was coming. I remembered that, and I was
brace
like,
yourself.
Okay. All right, whatever. I braced myself, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna shrug it off. But then I forgot about everything else that was just complete crap too, and it's just like, man, like it just doesn't get any better from here. I thought maybe maybe it gets better from there, but
no.
I mean, I don't know that it necessarily gets worse, but it's just once it hits rock bottom, it just stays there. It's just a lot of it. The ants were fucking. What is that? What is happening? What is that?
The ants. Shia LaBeouf brings a fucking boa constrictor to pull him out of the
Oh yeah,
stand.
that was that. That actually,
Call it a rope.
I tell you what.
Call it a rope.
I tell you what. That might have been the worst moment in the movie for me. Honestly, I completely blocked that out of my brain. Rewatched it. And I'm like, I cannot believe what is happening right here. I think that might. I think there was a point where I sent you either something through Snapchat or I sent you a text or something. I don't remember what I said, but I'm pretty sure that was the moment where I'm like, I thought I could be, just brave enough to just, make my way through it, but I cannot do it right now. I have to take a break and just let my brain unwind so I can, I don't know. I don't think any amount of alcohol would have made a difference here.
No, it's bad. It's bad. I'm curious to know what kind of favorite moment you can pull out of this movie.
My favorite moment, I think the intro sequence is fine up until the fridge. I think it's not great, but I like the when they pull him out of the trunk and you see kind of the Andy putting his hat on and the shot. I like that. I thought it was cool. I mean, I think that was in like the first teaser trailer as well. So it's good. It's a good trailer shot. But I liked that, and then I liked. Aside from the weird, like, I'm going to read your mind. No, what is that? What are you doing? I liked the introduction of Cate Blanchett's character because
I like how I like
cool.
the pacing of the shots and stuff when they're exploring Area 51. And he's got all the people coming behind him, and he's give me your shotgun shell. Blah 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 blah. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Nice long tracking shot like that. It was neat. I mean, I think on a technical filmmaking level, I think it's not shot bad, and it's got a good score. But there's no sort of meat on the bone. You know what I mean? And then especially when you start talking about all the CG that they use, it's a downward spiral. It's terrible. Makes everybody look really bad. But so your favorite thought is exploring Area 51, with the exception of trying to mind read Indiana Jones.
I mean, that's whatever. It's fine at the time. It seems like it kind of just falls by the wayside after that point. So that's kind of it's just kind of a weird moment in the context of all of it. Do you have a favorite moment?
I think probably if I had to pick, and it's a difficult thing to pick because the whole movie's just shit. I'd probably say the diner scene. I enjoyed the diner scene a little bit. I thought that was okay. Where they're sitting there and Shia LaBeouf steals the beer and then Indy puts the beer back, and then the KGB come over there and he tells him to punch the other guy, and then this giant like greaser jock fight ensues, and then so I don't know. I like that little bit there. I thought that was okay. But I think that's probably about it.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject, what do you think about old Mutt Williams / Henry Jones III? What do you think about old Shia? I think he's back in the saddle for he's the future Indiana Jones. No. It's definitely happening, right? He's so relevant these days.
I don't after this movie, don't get me wrong, I love Indiana Jones, but I don't think I want anymore. Like I'm full. Thank you. I'll ignore the last one. It was a shitty dessert, and I'll just. It's like when you're having a good meal and you're enjoying it, and then you get home and you have food poisoning. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to equate this to. I'm hyped up on Indiana Jones. Fuck yeah, it's so good. oh, that was awesome. What a great meal. And then you get home and you just can't stop throwing up for 4 hours. That's what that's what I liken this to. It's terrible.
It's like you had 19 years and then this is what you come up with. And I'm looking at this, like the second line of the second paragraph of the Wikipedia pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people had written different scripts before this. It says screenwriters Jeb Stewart, Jeffrey Boehm, Frank Darabont, and Jeff Nathanson wrote drafts before David Koepp's script satisfied the producers. What were they?
Lord have mercy.
It's like, well, I mean, maybe it's a fucking amazing script that maybe Spielberg is to blame here. Who's to say? He's probably not. I mean, he is partially. Obviously, he's the director for fuck's sake. But like, I don't think that this is the script I would have chosen.
No,
if I was in charge.
I don't think so.
At least assuming that it reads the same way that it plays anyway. I don't know. I remember like when I watched it, I remember like liking Marion coming back, and I was like, oh, they're getting married. I'm like, it feels so left field right now. We're like, oh yeah, I've just concealed your son for his entire life
and you
from
happen
you.
To meet him on the
and
train.
We have this chance meeting, and now we're in love again, and we're gonna get married by the end of this movie.
What?
What? What are you doing? Like, I don't know. They should have just put someone else. Maybe they could have had a little. No, I was gonna say he could have had a little thing going with Cate Blanchett, but that would have been, I guess, pretty samey as Last Crusade. I guess Soviets, Nazis, whatever. But
what's worse is I just clicked onto the. I needed to see who produced it. So, but apparently it's terrible. This is it's the highest, it's the biggest financial success out of the 3 films in the series versus compared to the other 3 films. And it grossed over $786 million worldwide. And,
well, it also came out 20 years later, so
it was the second highest grossing film in 2008.
Yeah, well, I mean, I bet if you adjusted for inflation, I feel like Raiders would probably be bigger. It's one of those things. I mean,
I guess you're right. Yeah, inflation is a thing. But
so you have to bear that in mind. Dark Knight was number 1, so at least to
Iron Man's number 8 that year.
And Hancock was number 4, so clearly audiences in 2008
something's wrong.
We're drunk AF because Hancock is possibly worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No,
Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia was number 5.
Wally was number 9. Wally's so good. Wally makes me cry every time.
Dope.
Yeah.
Wally's some good shit, man.
Yeah, sidetrack. I'm sorry.
Wally bonus. Yeah, Pixar bonus episode. There's an idea.
Holy shit. I mean, I don't think we'd be able to fit all those movies in.
No, we probably have to split it somehow, but we'll just leave that as a tease.
I'm still fighting for a Studio Ghibli
that's another one. That good
episode.
Lord, that's a lot of movies to get through. You've also got quite the head start on me. So these are ideas. These are definitely ideas that we can possibly revisit.
Maybe we can throw a vote out to our people in the interwebs, and they can tell us what they would like to hear.
We could do that. We could do that. That's a tantalizing option. Crystal Skull, do you have anything else to say on it?
No, absolutely not. We're talking to the movie's so bad. We're talking about other movies that came out in 2008. What's that say?
What would you rather talk about other than this movie? Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, Indiana Jones is a franchise. I mean, well, it's as it was as a trilogy. You've got 2 great movies and 1 bad one. And then this one comes out and you kind of even it out where it's like, it's half and half, where kind of half the franchises is real shit, to be quite honest. So, I mean, Indiana Jones 5 is happening, whether you want it or not. I think it's supposed to start shooting next year.
What?
Spielberg is coming back to direct. Harrison Ford's coming back. We've literally talked about it on the actual podcast before, by the way. I mean, it's happening. Harrison Ford's coming back. It's supposed to be his last movie as Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Which makes sense. Shia LaBeouf will not be coming back.
Oh,
apparently.
come on. It's his kid. How do you write out your kid?
Maybe you recast him. You just said it 10 years later and like, he's just a different actor now. He's older now. He's a different guy.
They have to take it in an interesting place because Harrison Ford's fucking old. He can't be swinging from whips.
I mean, he was lively in Blade Runner-ish. Lively-ish. Lively-ish.
Yeah, I guess. They always have CG. They could just CG Harrison Ford.
Well, they've got they can access the Marvel de-aging technology. I guess Lucasfilm has it too for Star Wars. Fuck it, just de-age him the whole time. He's actually gonna be an 18-year-old.
That's it. Oh, please don't.
Well, so it's one of those things where, all things go right. It would be nice to have, an Indy 5 that it's an odd movie, so it should be good, based on 1 and 3 being good and 2 and 4 being shit. 5 should be back on the upswing. 5 should be good. It'd be nice to have a greater amount of good Indiana Jones movies than bad ones. Because as it is now, it's like, okay, well, we've got half and half. But if you had 3, good to great movies and then 2 bad ones, it wouldn't be so bad. It wouldn't be so bad at all. So hopefully they can have one last hurrah with it. There's no real details on the plot. I would say that Aliens is probably a no-go this time around.
Right.
And if I had to guess, I mean, if I were in charge, I'm not. But if I were, I would do what Last Crusade did and just bring it back to formula. Just kind of stick with what worked. Update it for some modern sensibilities. Find a different kind of MacGuffin to kind of center it around, and have a cast that. Well, I mean, not necessarily the cast. It wasn't the cast that was the problem, but have characters that are interesting.
You could have this one set in Vietnam or something. That'd be cool.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's ways to make a good Indiana Jones movie, even with Harrison Ford. Being a little bit older now. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Assuming that it sounds like it's getting made. Obviously, until it's being filmed and put in theaters, I guess we can't say that it's a sure thing just yet, but I think there's still potential to have kind of a swan song, if you will, for Harrison Ford in the role. And it's just a matter of time until they reboot it too. So
that's true.
I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, it's a tough thing because, Solo was like, well, fuck, how do you do Han Solo without Harrison Ford? And, I think that they succeeded by not just doing a carbon copy. And so maybe that's what you do here, potentially. But I don't know. It's certainly a tough thing. And it's not something that I would, I'm glad that I'm not in charge. Let's put it that way. Because, I don't know. They got their hands full, I would say. So, yeah, I think that about does it for the Indiana Jones franchise. I guess we could do quick rankings. I think it's pretty obvious where we stand, and I think we agree. Honestly, I would say we didn't actually run these past each other, but I think it's pretty clear. So I'll state what I believe our collective rankings are, and if you disagree, obviously chip in. Last is Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
it's real shit. Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is number 3. It's also shit, but not quite as shit. And then, there's so many just, tiers above 3 and 4 are bottom rung. And then, you jump like 50,000 tiers or whatever it is. Then you get to 2 and 1. Number 2 for, I think, both of us as Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Raiders is obviously the classic. It's the one that started the franchise, but number 1, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I just think that is just the pinnacle of the franchise. It's the refinement of things that worked in Raiders, and it was just the distillation of that into just a really kind of perfect package that just really does everything that the franchise, I think, always wanted to do. So
I would agree wholeheartedly with your ranks for sure.
So it's a little easier this time when we're not dealing with 18 fucking movies.
That's true.
And when we can kind of pretty clearly just categorize them, as a top half and a bottom half. So, do you have any last thoughts on the Indiana Jones franchise?
I would like to state my disbelief for the Rotten Tomatoes scores on the Crystal Skull and Temple of Doom.
Well, Temple of Doom came out before the internet was a thing, so
that's true. It only has 65 reviews, but
discount that.
You have the Crystal Skull sitting at 77%.
67 or 77?
77.
77. Interesting. What's the average rating on it? That's the.
Let's see here. Hold on one second here. I'll get it back. Okay. Average rating is 6.9 out of 10.
That's shockingly high.
264 reviews. 204 fresh, 60 rotten. What the fuck is wrong with you 204 people? What is wrong with you?
I think probably a lot of it is just it's been 20 years since Indiana Jones has had a new movie. You get caught up in the hype of it. I mean, even the Star Wars prequels, I think, review way better than they should on Rotten Tomatoes, too. So I think it's just one of those things where you get kind of caught up in the moment of it.
Like Last Crusade's only three percentage points above Temple of Doom.
Again, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't really work for movies that came out 30, 40 years ago, as a side note. But yeah, it's definitely, let's just say it hasn't aged well at the very least. Because I guarantee a lot of those critics were asked to reevaluate their reviews. They might be feeling a little bit differently, but maybe they just like it. I don't know.
That's true. Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah, even if it's wrong and bad.
That's it.
But it's totally fine to be have a wrong and bad opinion. But just be aware that you're wrong and it's bad.
That's it. That's okay. Everybody's entitled.
Well, I think that does it for this bonus episode here. Again, for those of you who do support us on Patreon, thank you for your support and thank you for listening to this episode. For those of you who are listening to this through our regular feed, don't forget that you still have the opportunity to support us through Patreon to get access to these bonus episodes ahead of everyone else, early access to all of our regular episodes. Again, watchreviewrepeat.com. That's our website for everything you need as far as the podcast. But if you hit the premium tab, that will take you to some information on Patreon and get you set up for becoming a patron. Or you can just go to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Skip the middleman if that's what you're all about. And certainly if you are a supporter of us on Patreon, this next catchphrase is really applicable. If you enjoyed what you heard, spread the word.
That's it.
Well, it's one of those things where, we have fun kind of doing these bonus episodes as kind of a reward for those that do kind of chip in and help kind of, pay it forward a little bit. We're just trying to recover costs for hosting, for software we use, for the equipment that we bought, for making this thing a reality. So we're not trying to make money. We're just trying to kind of, make it a little bit more sustainable. So in any way that you can help, whether it's you directly supporting us or if it's just saying, hey, these guys are awesome, or these guys are totally fine, whatever your feelings are, just saying, hey, if you wouldn't mind supporting them as well, that's something you can do. So we encourage you to, spread the word.
Give us your opinion. If you're listening to this, tell us what you would like us to cover in the next bonus episode.
Well, we already have that one set up, but for future bonus episodes.
Episodes, yes. Give us some stuff.
We've already. Sorry, go ahead.
I, for one, would be very excited to have a recommendation for a movie or a franchise or something of that nature that I haven't seen before. So if you got something off the wall, I like to watch all sorts of stuff, art house movies, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make a difference. Foreign films. If you have something that really, really scratches an itch and you'd like to hear our opinion about it, let us know. Email us, get in touch with us on the socials, and maybe we can throw a bonus episode in here with a certain particular movie or something, that you want to hear about, because I'm all game to watch it. I'd like to watch it if you got something hidden up your sleeve, so let us know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the socials, we are on Facebook at Watch Review Repeat. We are on Twitter at WRRPod. And if you wanted to send us things directly through your email, you can do it so by sending that to our email account, which is watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And I believe we can announce what our next bonus episode will be, and that is the Mission Impossible franchise. So Mission Impossible Fallout is coming out, I want to say, towards the end of July. So we're getting caught up on the whole franchise. We're getting caught up on that cruise missile goodness.
That's so good.
So just keep an eye out for some announcements on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And that's the quickest way to be in the know.
And you'll get more theme songs by me. Mumbling theme songs.
You're going to bring out some Mission Impossible themes for us when it comes to the sound. All right, very good, very good. I look forward to that. Well, I think that does it here for this episode. Yeah.
Do 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 do. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.